Welcome back, everybody. It is me. It is the Cyber Warrior. This is Cyber Warrior Studios, and I know what you're all here for. You're all here for another amazing episode of Security Happy Hour. And I promise it's going to happen because we're here. We're live as we always are. And I promise we got an amazing guest planned. He ain't here yet, but guess what? The show got to go on. So when he shows up, we'll bring him in. But otherwise, look, stay tuned. Stay in your chair. Unless you need to go get a drink, because you know this what the show's all about: having fun, having drinks, having conversations. So hang out for a minute. I promise I'll be right back. Told you I'd be right back. So I got a little ink therapy this past Saturday, so I'm feeling good. I'm feeling really good. It's been a week, but you know, ink therapy always does good for me. It helps me get through. Otherwise, look, I gotta say, it has been a crazy week. There's a lot going on. A lot of people getting jobs, a lot of people losing jobs, and a lot of things to talk about. The biggest thing that we're going to talk about today, once our guest joins, is staying driven and finding your success. Because no matter what happens in life, no matter what life throws at you, there's always a way to overcome and adapt and really find that success within this career field, in any career field. That's really what this show is about, is keeping you driven, keeping you motivated, and letting you know that we all have our own issues within the career field, right? Cybersecurity is vast. There's so many different fields. And so if you don't go about it the right way, if you're not driven to success, and you let the negativity beat you down, then there's a good chance that you're going to give up right before you're going to find your big break. And I know it doesn't always seem like that, right? We kind of have these issues where we look at things and we're like, man, I didn't get this job. I didn't get this job. They didn't call me. They didn't call me. I didn't get anything from this resume. So the reality of it is, it's getting a little cold here. You know, we have to look at things in such a way that next resume that we put out, that next application, that next job we apply for could be the one that sets us up for success, could be the one that actually gives us our big break. And I talk a lot about networks, right? Because your network is going to really make or break your career, because you can get a lot of places on your own, but let's be honest, it is extremely difficult. Without a solid network, a solid foundation of people that are there to support you, it is very hard these days to actually make something of yourself. Even when we're looking at, you know, different situations with, you know, you can't just walk into a place and drop off a resume anymore, right? It used to be that way. When I was growing up, if I wanted to go work at a certain place, I could just sit there, drop off a resume, and be like, "Yeah, cool. I want to work here." And I'm like, "All right." And if you were charismatic enough, if you're able to put yourself out there, a lot of times you at least get to sit down and have an interview. These days, everything's online. You have to apply online through LinkedIn, through Indeed, through Dice, whatever. You have to apply online. That's the only way these people are taking applications. So even if it's through those career pages, right? Where I work, we have a career page. You apply through there and you can get an interview, right? But you have to be able to consider the fact that a lot of organizations still have these ATS systems in place. And unless you know somebody, unless you are talking to somebody, you have to hope you get past that ATS. Whereas if you know someone, then you can talk to the recruiters at that organization and they'll pull your resume for you. They'll have that conversation with you. They'll at least get you started in the process. So this is where your network is so important, because these days it is so hard to get past that ATS. But the flip side to that is, are you customizing your resume? Are you building resumes that can get you through the ATS by not lying, right? You have to be honest with everything you put out there. If you're not honest with yourself, if you're not honest with the jobs you're applying for, it is going to get found out in the interview process. So you have to be honest about it. So if a job is looking for somebody and they say you need to have experience in Rapid7, all right, or Tenable or Tanium or any of a combination of tools, CrowdStrike, pen testing, Kali Linux, Active Directory, Azure, AWS, whatever the case may be, and you say you have that experience, and then it comes down to the interview process, and it's like, I read about it. That's not experience. And by experience, I don't mean, and I will never mean, you have enterprise experience. I mean, have you been able to set up a lab? Have you been able to develop your skill set by doing different things? That's what truly matters. If you're not setting up a lab, if you're not doing things to learn on your own, then it makes it very difficult, even for a junior position, because there are people doing that. You have to set yourself apart. And people hate that. Go ahead, hate it all you want. The fact of the matter is, if you're not doing something to set yourself up for success, to set yourself apart from everybody else, then you're only doing a disservice for yourself. Because like we've talked about on previous episodes of this, so many things are free. You can get free Azure Cloud. You can get free AWS Cloud. I believe even GCP, so Google Cloud. There's so many different ways and different avenues to get access to free services that will allow you to experiment, allow you to play with tools, allow you to do different things, that there's no excuse anymore. Now, if you don't have a computer, it's a whole different can of worms. Completely different and a completely different topic. But for anybody that has the basic computer, you can use the cloud as long as you have access to the internet. And if you don't, again, different conversation altogether. But if you do, there's no excuse anymore. There is no excuse for, I can't get that training, I can't get that experience, because it's out there. The school of YouTube is free. There's so many free courses. Hack the Box is free. You can't do everything, but it's still free to get in. Try Hack Me has free training that you can do and free boxes that you can do. There is no excuse. So for anybody that goes through college and says, oh, well, I didn't do anything. Okay, I'm going to talk to somebody else with a degree, and they're going to tell me I set up, these instances in the cloud and this at the third. So like, there's no excuse. But our guest for this evening is here. So let's bring onto the stage the one, the only, Harry Bailey. Harry has been here before. I know he rushed home from his brand new job. Harry, talk about it. Where are you now? And how did you get
Oh my goodness, dude. Well, actually, I still got 2 weeks before I start the GRC role. So I'm still kind of mainlining physical work for the next 2 weeks. I'll be struggling and whatnot, but
it's always fun.
One day.
But you did. You finally accepted a position. You're going to be starting a GRC role in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So that took a lot of time, right? Because it's been about a year, give or take, since you've been on the show. And so it's been a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of applications going out there. Mm-hmm. What do you think, was the driving force behind you finally getting that role?
Just connecting, man. Mentorship and connecting. That was really what did it. I just kept learning as much as I could until I was able to, prove somebody I was worth taking a shot on. And when I went to the interview, because originally, what attracted me was actually pen testing, because that's the sexy option. Everybody loves pen testing.
Everybody loves it until they don't.
Oh my God. Oh, one of the best things I've seen was the video where it's like, what you think pen testing is, and it shows all this. It's got this like rock music going, and this guy's like, yeah, and all that, and then all of a sudden it goes what it really is, and it's like this Indian guy with like a little pointer stick going, and then you go here, and then here, and then here, and it was just like so apropos, because like when you get into Metasploit and everything, it's like you think it's going to be way more action packed, but man, there's so much setup before you actually get to do the cool stuff. So.
Yeah, it was crazy because I believe we talked about that, when you were on last time, kind of your starting point with pen testing and offensive security, and then realizing more and more that you kind of like GRC and the aspects of GRC and what it gives to the industry and the organizations and things of that nature. And so with you finally getting this first role, right, you mentioned mentorship and kind of, training and things like that. But it had to have been hard, right? Because you figure it's been, 2 years that you've been trying to get into a security role, give or take?
18 months after my 6-month boot camp. So yeah. I mean, we're talking probably about 2 years. Yeah, it's been a journey, man. I think the first one we did was about I wish I knew.
Yep.
I'd like to throw a couple exclamation points on that after.
Yeah.
Oh my God! But I love about the GRC role too is the fact that it sets up all of SecOps, man. It makes sure that all the foundational things are put together so that, you can have resiliency, that's what I really like about it. And I have a feeling it's going to allow me to really dabble into all the different realms of security. And I've always kind of been a generalist. and almost everything I've done. So it's gonna be exciting and fun, man.
Yeah, and I always find it I find it easier to work with a lot of the GRC people that have that experience in the technical side. And again, it doesn't have to be industry experience. The learning,
Yeah.
the training, the understanding of the terminology, and the technical aspect of things, because then it's easier to, when they need to implement a control, it's easier to talk to them like, oh yeah, so the
Mm.
firewall. And when you say firewall, they're not like, what's a firewall? Like, because there are GRC people out there, and I love them. They're still doing a damn good job, but they don't understand the technical aspects. So they rely on their blue teamers or somebody to come
Yeah.
in and really speak to that technical side, and they're just lost. They're just like, so what do we need to do? Like,
Dude,
what do I need to write on paper so that you're good to go? And so I always love, like, I have so much respect and admiration for the people that like understand and know the technical side, but really push things forward and move the the first down marker forward by going through the extra mile, knowing the regulations and NIST and CIS and PCI, and doing the GRC work, because without GRC there is no blue team or red team.
Oh man, for sure. Yeah, and I love it, man. I've become such a NIST fanboy. Like it's so cool, man. Now, question. So have you ever run into auditors where they go in there and they like try to read directly from the NIST, and you're like, dude, what are you talking about?
I have gotten lucky where I have not had to deal with too many auditors, thankfully. Even in my roles when I was in PCI, the one company I worked for, half of it was just send me, whatever supporting documentation you can for your vulnerability management program or whatever the case may be. And it was like, here you go. Send me your patch management program. It's trash. Here you go. But we have one. Whether or not it's functioning, completely different topic. But here you go.
It's tribal. We have it. We have it old school here.
Yeah. So and it's crazy these days too, because now GRC gets even harder, right? Just like any rule in cybersecurity, it's all getting harder because now you have hybrid environments, right?
Yeah.
So you have the cloud, you have on-prem, and then you have software as a service, security as a service, networking as a service. So many as a service organizations and capabilities that it's making your TPRM, your all the different aspects of abiding by policy and regulation that much harder. Your risk framework for organizations has to be absolutely ridiculous these days. Just trying to figure everything out. Like where are we in scope, out of scope? What do I need to be worried about? What don't I need to be worried about?
Yeah. Well, 2.0 just came out too. The CSF, the
CMMC?
cybersecurity. Well, that's for government, but the cybersecurity framework, the 2.0, it has a governance component to it that they added, and it's still not quite finished yet. It's really they're still working on it, but it implements a lot more of kind of because really originally the NIST was more like this is the result. How do we get there?
Yeah.
And now they're starting to, because they've gotten so much feedback or whatnot, they put it in there that now they're starting to put components in there where it kind of gives you like a walkthrough on how to get there a lot more. It makes it a lot smoother because everything is getting so complicated.
Yeah, and it is too, because we talked about a few weeks ago, maybe about a month and a half ago, we talked about the shared security model within the cloud. And it's one of those things where people don't understand you're still responsible for your own security. Like all the shared security model is you've got Microsoft, Google, and Amazon saying we will protect your hardware and the back end, but that coming from outside in, that's on you.
Yeah.
Traversing your own internal network, that's on you. You have to implement firewalls, DMZs. It's just like a regular network, only now it's virtualized. So people need to understand that. And I think for so long they forgot about that. That's how we had all the open S3 buckets. That's how we've had so many ways to bypass different authentication mechanisms within the cloud, and so many ways to do different things. So it's having that hybrid environment, having that cloud environment, and now bringing in NIST and the CSF and all these different things that can help at least give you a framework of reference, I think is huge.
Yeah, I'm still dabbling with SOC 2. I'm trying to really get my head around all that, because there's the different versions where it's almost like a version where you can say, hey, this is cool. We set this up. This is our process. We got a good grade on it. And then when you get into version 2, then that's like a more, okay, well, this is what we've been for 6 months. So we didn't just say, hey, let's make everything cool while you come in and do the audit. And then they hung out for about 6 months and said, oh, okay, cool. That's, that's where it's at. And then because right now, like when I actually get into it, I'm going to be dealing with a lot of the stuff that deals with the SEC and the financial industry. So probably PCIDS will also be in there too.
Yeah. So Jack has a good question. For an MSP, do you have it? And I know you're just getting in, so maybe not. Do you have any recommended programs to track GRC for managed security partner or managed services partner?
Meaning as far as like if they're already on the IT side and trying to kind of get it and dabble over to the security side like an MSSP, or
I would go as far as say if you're an MSP, you have to have a governance side. That way you can work with other organizations, right? We talk about SOC 2, PCI, NIST. Well, NIST isn't regulation; it's a framework, but
right.
You know what I'm getting at. So
for sure.
If you have to track all those, or at least track one of them, let's say you want to deal with the retail industry, which means you have to be PCI. Would there be a particular program? And I know there's quite a few out there, and their names are escaping me this evening. But would there be a particular program you would recommend for somebody to track all of their GRC within that organization so that they can be certified? I want to say OneTrust is one of them, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. Like I say, I'm still dabbling in and getting dialed in to my first time in there, so I don't have one offhand.
There's a few out there, Jack. Honestly, I there's ups and downs to all of them. Me and my father were talking about it about a year or so ago when I was over his house. There's so many different programs to help with GRC now. That it's hard to really pinpoint a favorite. You really just have to go in there, look at what's there, see if it's going to work for your organization, and go from there. But I want to say OneTrust is one of them that one of the companies I've worked for before used. So yeah, it's there's a variety.
I was looking at one that was really good, and I was actually looking for it here, and I can't seem to find
I think ServiceNow has a GRC module that you can use. I think. I can't say whether or not it's any good. I just believe it.
I have no response for it.
I honestly don't know. I can't say yeah or nay.
Like as far as like training up on it, OCEO looks pretty promising. I haven't got a chance to really mess with it yet, but it's geared towards GRC. They're ones that kind of originated, and they have like access to just all kinds of different things. If it's like let's see.
So beyond the programmatic side of things and beyond GRC itself, there had to be a lot of hiccups along the way of you finally getting that first role, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, imposter syndrome galore.
What was the hardest part of just staying driven, staying, on track to finally get them?
I think it breaks down to one thing. It's got to be a passion. It can't be about anything else. It's got to be something that literally drives you. Say, for instance, if it's financial, then you're gonna crap out real quick because it's not going to be worth it. But for me, it was just determination. After I put in so much time with it, I don't know. There was just this instinct, like I just couldn't quit. Like if I wanted to, I couldn't. Like I'd get all down on myself and everything else. I'm like, man, you're not worth it, man. Just give up. Everybody would understand. But I couldn't. And I think you have to have that like honey badger mentality. No matter what, you just believe in yourself so much that you can do it, and that even though you can't see it, you can't see the light. You're still kind of in the darkness, and just trying to learn everything you can. There has to be that little fighter in you that just knows that somehow it's going to work out. And I don't think if you don't have that, then I just don't think security in general is for you. It's like you've said multiple times, man. I haven't even gotten a field yet, but I've known enough people to tell me that it's not all glamour and glitz and everything else, dude. There's a lot of heartache with it too. So you gotta love it.
I mean, that's really the biggest thing, because like even where I'm at, right? As long as I've been in the career field, as much as I've seen, companies go up, go down. I've worked in a variety of places. I've worked for the military, being active duty and everything.
Mm.
Like, if money is your driving factor and you're trying to break in for the money, it's gonna be really hard, because a lot of it's gonna become an expense, right? You got to get trained, you got to get certified, you got to do so many things that can be very difficult and can take more than one swing at it. So the very basics of certifications, Security Plus or GSEC, which is outrageous, so I wouldn't even say it's for the cost, but you look at things like Security Plus or ISC squared cybersecurity course, or anything like that, and it is very cost intensive, because if you're in a job where you're working paycheck to paycheck, where you're like, I need something better that's going to pay more, cool. There's multitude of ways to get there. But if that's your only reason, then I hope you can shell out $300, $400, $500 for at least one certification, because you're going to need the books, you're going to need to get trained, and then you're going to have to get certified. But then on top of that, time is money. The amount of time you have to put in to learn the career field, to learn what you want to do, to practice what you want to do. It is not something that you could just be like, oh yeah, I got a certification, so I'm gonna go apply and I'm gonna get this interview, I'm gonna get the job, and we're gonna be good. Nah, because if you can't speak to the topics at hand, if you can't speak to the industry, if you can't speak to what you've been doing, that certification is a waste of money.
Yeah. Oh, dude,
just wasted $400 for nothing, because you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. How about this, man? How about this? I have no certs. I've got no certifications, and but I've been studying the Security Plus. I've been studying the material, and and there's all these things I see online where like, hey, I passed the test in like 8 days, or I passed the test in 30 days or whatever. But like for me, it was like, you know what? If I get the certification, but I didn't actually learn the information because I'm trying to cram it down so fast, like my interview, a lot of it was drawing from that material that I read, because I drilled down into it so many times and understood it, opposed to just trying to get that. And I will eventually get a Security Plus. It's
eventually. But again, it comes down to that. It comes down to time. It comes down to money.
Yeah.
And time is money. So effectively, money is everything.
Yes.
And if you don't have, and it's funny because me and Jack talked about this before. He said, oh my God, what a way to ask, what is your why? And it's because that's a big key thing for me, right? It's how my Walk With Me podcast started. It is how I talk about a lot of people getting in the industry, like, why are you here? And so for me, that why you're here, that why you're trying to get into this career field is the biggest factor, because that is going to make or break you.
Amen.
Money you can get from anywhere. Money, literally, there's a multitude of legal but shady ways to get money. There's a multitude of ways you can do things that are a heck of a lot easier than cybersecurity.
Yeah. Oh,
cybersecurity has to be this driving passion within you, because if it wasn't, then weeks like I had this week, like I've had in my career, you're done. You're going to quit. You're going to give up. You're going to say, I can't take this no more. You have to really love it. It's the only way you're going to keep going. Even once you get into the career field, the shit doesn't end. It keeps building. It keeps getting harder and harder, because you have to know more and more. There is no end to the learning. There is no end to figuring shit out. It's always changing. It's always growing. It's always advancing. And if you don't love it, then it's that much harder to keep up with the industry and keep growing within it.
And isn't that the best part, that you can't know it all? You know,
Anybody who tells me they're an expert in cybersecurity, and I think we've had this discussion, I quit talking to them usually.
Earmuffs.
I hate that term. I absolutely despise the term expert. There are certain areas where I think it makes sense, right? You can be an expert in a certain subset of law. You can be an expert in a certain subset, like being a surgeon or a neurosurgeon or whatever, right? You practice and meticulously practice those subset of areas. But people like to generalize cybersecurity. They're like, oh, an expert in cybersecurity. No. You could be an expert in SIM. You could be an expert in web app pen testing. You can be an expert in network pen testing. You could be an expert in a lot of different areas of IT and cybersecurity. But to generalize it to just cybersecurity, no. And I will call bullshit any day of the week on anytime somebody says, I'm a cybersecurity expert. Cool. What about it? And when they bring up red teaming, I'm going to ask them blue team questions. Yeah, we'll figure this shit out. We'll find your weak spots.
Right.
Because
there's going to be some.
Again, gaps. You could be a red team expert. And even then, I wouldn't say red team. Physical, network,
because that's so
engineering.
Ooh, that's so huge too. Yeah, I mean,
and you can have a few facets. Don't get me wrong. You can know web app and network and everything up to and including social engineering. You can. I'm not saying you can't. It takes a lot of time, practice, and patience, and dedication. But you can. But to literally generalize the entire career field, which is so broad. Yeah. So you're telling me you know all of PCI and NIST and CIS and CMMC 2.0? No, that means you can't claim to be a cybersecurity expert because that covers all of GRC. So again, despise the term.
Not a fan.
Career for him is a Kaizen, continuous improvement, keep learning. That's this industry.
That's fair.
If you do not keep learning, if you're not continuously trying to improve on who you are and what you do, you're gonna fail. You're gonna fall behind the 8 ball. You're gonna lose it. Even me in management, like I called my boss today and was like, "Yo, we need to talk." Actually, I texted him. He called me, and I was like, "Yo, I'm struggling. I got to figure this shit out." And I'm not over my head. I'm just. It hit me all this morning at like 8 o'clock. I checked my email and I was like, "Oh, we're gonna be fighting." Like 2 or 3 different issues, and so I called him. Was like, "How would you deal with this?" Because I'm literally about to lose my mind and yell at some people. And so, we all need that. And I think when you're driving for success in the career field, you need that. You need those people that are going to humble you. You need those people you can reach out to. You need the people that are going to push you to constantly learn and grow as an individual within your subset of your career and even expand out. You should always know 2 to 3 different things within your area. If you're doing GRC, you should know NIST, CSF, maybe CMMC. Like, not all at once. Don't learn it all at once. You get your specialization. Like, I know NIST backwards and forwards. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to keep studying NIST as it changes and keep my head, keep a pulse on it. But now I want to do CSF 2.0. Or now I want to do CMMC 2.0, right? I want to dabble in the government sector. So let's learn that now. And it's actually, that's a little bit easier because CMMC 2.0 is really, really close to NIST. Different labeling, different numbering, but the frameworks are basically the same. Yeah. So it's easier to do that. But you've got to start with one and then go out. And when you're looking to make a career field here, find one. Find one that you can be damn good at.
Heck yeah.
And then branch out.
I love what Jack said. You're an expert right until something new comes out. That's awesome.
It's true.
Yeah, that's so true.
Which means tomorrow, because tomorrow there's going to be a new ransomware, a new variant, a new something. Some company's going to invent some new freaking term and coin it as a phrase, and it's basically behavioral analytics, but they just slap some newfangled definition on it. And here you go.
Or my favorite, what I read the other day about the deep fakes, how they had the whole team and CEO and everybody all on the call. And you're like, man,
These deep fakes, and so look, this is why I don't trust anything unless I'm there in person.
Right. You gotta have some on prem.
Uh, Absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna sit here and put it on the news, put it on the internet, like some news article or something like that, or whatever you're gonna do, cool. But unless I am there in person to see it, I don't believe it. I take it with a grain of salt. Probably, but the news is no. You realize in South Park did it right. When the internet went down on like season 12, episode maybe 14 of South Park, I forget what episode it was, but it's called overlogging. The news couldn't produce the news because the news got their news from the internet. Like that's what we're running into these days. Mm-hmm. Everybody's getting their news from the internet, social media.
That raises a good question. What do you like to use to keep up to date with what's going on? What are some of your resources you like?
So I like the hacker news. They tend to have a lot of like it's a correlated set of sources. It's not like all one. So it allows you to kind of really corroborate information a little bit better. I do still go on the dark web on occasion, hit the forums and things like that to kind of figure out what's going on there. And then simple like DuckDuckGo searches. I don't even use Google for my searching half the time. I'll use DuckDuckGo and figure out what that's giving me because it's not being funded by like ads and sponsorship where you can mistakenly click a link that you think is valid and it's somebody that just paid $1 million to have their ad always at the top of the page.
For sure.
And so DuckDuckGo, I usually go there, make sure it doesn't say ads or sponsored or anything like that and find my articles.
That's the worst, man. When you gotta go down about 20 lines before you get past the sponsored stuff. It's so annoying.
But again, you have to always look at multiple sources. And in this industry, too many people want to be the first. They don't want to be right. Yeah. Actually, that's in general how the news works these days. But when you're looking at like corroboration, so one of the biggest things about a breach is, well, who done it? Mm-hmm. Oh, it was this country or this country. It was a nation state. It was an advanced attack. It was this, that, and the third. Meanwhile, Joe Blow just left admin on his freaking computer as a password, and Sheila from down the street broke in. Like whatever the case may be. So you look at these things, and people just want to be first. So they will put out the most ridiculous stuff without anything to actually attribute it to anybody. They'll just assume based on one reason or another. When in reality, it could take weeks, if not months, to truly attribute any type of breach to a certain APT or a certain nation state or a certain whatever. But you got to be first, or else you lose all the money. I'd rather be right and factual than first. Yeah. And so that's why you always have to look when things like Log4j came out and Print Nightmare came out and you had SolarWinds. All these breaches started happening because of all these different issues. And people wanted to be first. But then, as the weeks went on, see all these older articles had to update. Like, oh, well, this and that and the third. Then you had the reliable sources that waited. They pumped the brakes. They're like, no. Let's wait and see what happens. Let's see exactly how bad this is. Let's see exactly what's going on. Let's see exactly what happened in this breach and everything else like that. Those are the people I trust more. I'll usually wait about a week or so before I do research on breaches.
Yeah, because they got to figure everything out. Gosh.
Think about the legality behind it now, especially now that we're looking at some of these larger companies, especially your publicly traded ones. The SEC is becoming huge, and basically trying to burn people that don't report on time and everything else like that. Rightfully so, but you still need to have legal involved. You still need to be able to figure out what the hell happened. And if you can't do anything, how are you going to figure out what the hell happened? It's going to take weeks, if not months, if not 6 months to a year to really truly recover from a serious ransomware. And so, did they exfiltrate data? They exfiltrated data. Okay. Did they get anybody's accounts? How they get in? How they do all these things? And it's a huge amount of time because now, if you're hit with ransomware, your main purpose is not figuring out how. It's getting back up and running.
Yeah, resiliency. That's the key. You got to be able to say, I'm getting it knocked in the dirt right now, but I'm still able to make my product, or I'm still able to do this, even though.
You have to put it this way. If Walmart one of, if not the largest retail company in the world.
Hmm.
Again, one of, if not the. If they were to go down, let's say all of their registers because of a server breach or network breach, whatever, say all their registers went down for 2 hours completely. And I'm not talking one store, I'm talking all of them.
Yeah.
Could you imagine how much money they would lose?
Oh my God.
For 2 hours. And that's not counting. Guess what? I've already exfiltrated your data before I ransomed your shit to put you down for 2 hours. Which now means not only are you down for 2 hours and you've had to do whatever with your incident response, your disaster recovery, your business continuity plan, and bring all that up and running to get it running again. Now I'm going to come after you once you're up and running because I know you're going to have ways to not have to pay me for the ransom. I know this, but I've already got your data. I've already got all your clients' data. I've already got all your personnel files. I got everything. I've been in your network for 6 months to a year before I even did this, right? It's all about playing the long game. Right. And that's what these APTs do, and people don't realize it. But they're playing a long game. They've been in your network longer than you even know.
That first beacon.
Oh, dude, if you don't, and the problem is the C2 servers are constantly changing. They're constantly standing up new ones that you can't just, you're not always going to pick up that first beacon. Actually, very rarely do you pick up the first beacon. Normally, you have to watch NetFlow traffic and be able to see data leaving your network. That's why DLP is so important. But you look at these things. So now you're back up and running. You've probably lost $2 million or $2 billion if you're Walmart, whatever that 2 hours is going to cost you. But then now, because I'm an APT or because I'm somebody that's greedy, actually I ain't greedy. Actually, if I can get all that data, I'm going to be greedy. I'm like, all right, it's going to cost you $500 million to get this data back and me not publish every last thing I have. And then what's going to happen is they're going to bring in a negotiator, somebody who also surfs the forums. Somebody who also lives on the evil side of things that's going to work with you and bring that cost down. So you're going to start at half a bill and you're going to end up making probably at least $100 million on that data.
And then, of course, there's always a great irony of, you can have all this Bitcoin or whatnot, but you can only take out so much at a time. So it's like trying to, get a glass of water.
Though. Yeah. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to release that data anyways.
Ooh, because I'm nasty.
That's what they do, though. Because now what they're going to do is they're going to take those usernames and passwords and social security numbers. So now you paid me not to release it, which means I'm not going to release it on Twitter or X. I'm not going to release it on the ClearNet. I'm now going to auction off and sell these social security numbers, these usernames and passwords, this list of all these important people. Yeah, I'm going to sell that on the dark web. Yeah. I'm going to sell that to people that are willing to buy it for like $100 a pop.
It's like XAAS, it's just like a service.
It never ends.
Yeah.
And so that's what these companies need to get better with in their resilience is don't always look at what happened, right? Oh, I got hit with ransomware. I got to get back up and running. Cool. Now what I want to know, once you know that, see, I'm more worried about when they get in, because now I need to put shit in place that's going to make sure it never happens again. I'm going to change, enforce. I don't care if I got 2 million users in my organization. All their passwords are getting reset to include the CEO. And on top of that, that MFA is getting stepped up. Now, no longer can you use a cell phone and a cell phone number or an app to log in through MFA. Now you need a token, homie. Hardware. Plug that into your computer. That's the only way you're getting on. We're going to make things real strict. It's going to be a pain in the ass, but good luck getting in.
Right. Yeah, token, the only thing you can do is steal it.
You better be willing to get real up close and personal to that CEO if you want his login.
Yeah.
So, you look at all these things and there's ways we can always improve. But that drives me to success, right? Because I'm looking at the bigger picture. I'm looking at the puzzle. I'm looking at how we can make things better. Not only for people to break into the industry who have to understand that this whole career is a puzzle. This whole career is something that you have to figure out where the pieces go. You have to think like a defender, but also like someone who's going to break in. How do I defend something, enable the business, and really piss off these attackers so that they leave me the hell alone?
Heck yeah.
You have to be able to put all these pieces together. And if you can't do that, your job's going to be a hell of a lot harder. Not saying impossible. Not saying you can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be a hell of a lot harder if you don't have that critical thinking.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I did some telemetry labs with some EDRs just to see what happens when I drop a C2 down on the server, and then like actually watch what goes on, man. And that taught me a lot about, like when you get to see what's left of boom, and then go back and look at it.
Yeah.
You're just like, man, this is. There's so many more possibilities that I didn't even think of until I started looking.
One of the craziest things is, and one of the craziest courses I'll ever tell you to take is reverse engineering malware. If you can ever get a company to send you to a SANS course for reverse engineering malware, it is well worth the money, because it is some of the best training I got, and the shit you find out malware can do will trigger you to figure out, how can I stop this? How can I defend this in my network? So from a GRC perspective, what do I need to put into my incident response plans? What do I need to put into my business continuity plans? What do I need to put into my disaster recovery? Because if malware can do X, Y, and Z, all right, if I'm an incident handler and you as an organization have an incident handling plan, do you want to kill access to the internet right away? A lot of people are going to tell you, yeah, it's talking to a CT server, isolate that box, can't talk to anything, kill it all, shut it off. No, because you see what's going to happen is, the moment you kill that, good luck finding out what that box was talking to.
Yeah.
Because that malware is going to die.
Mm-hmm.
It is literally going to be like, oh, I can't talk to my server. I ain't doing that no more. I'm out. Deuces. See you later.
Yeah.
And it's going to self-destruct. It's going to delete. If it doesn't delete your entire system in the process. Mm-hmm. So a lot of these things you have to look at. Malware can do the craziest stuff. I've seen it. Hell, I've built some of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun. It ain't stuff I've ever played with, and I do shit on my own to see what I can bypass my own EDR.
Nice.
And like some of the most basic things can bypass every EDR out there. Because they're built-in commands. If I can leverage the commands built into Windows, good luck trying to find me.
That's true. That's why the living off the land guys are so successful.
You see what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop something in memory, because your EDR is only going to scan your hard drive.
Yeah, you're not going to put your sensor out.
And to gain persistence, well, I'm going to rename one of your EXEs, and I'm going to put mine in its place. Or a DLL.
Yeah.
You see, because there's a lot of unquoted service paths. So I'm going to find the one with a space where I can just put a little fun little EXE in there. You're never going to know.
Oh, man.
So many different ways you can bypass these things. And people don't realize it. You see, as a pen tester, you're not going to reboot a box to try to gain access. Not usually. Sometimes maybe. But if you're especially on a server, if you're dropped on a server, you're not going to be like, hey, can I reboot this server? No. Now you're going to put a finding there. Can't guarantee it's going to work. It's an assumption, because you're not going to be allowed to reboot the server because you've been scoped in. You do so much within the scope. So how do you go about that? So much of this is what drives me. So much of this puzzle is what drives me, because I love the puzzle. I love trying to figure out, how can I get a client to allow me to do something that I know the red team's going to do.
That's cool. That's awesome, man. Did you ever, because I know you did a lot of, you got what, the OSCP and the whole nine. Did you do a lot of obfuscation when you were doing like your scans and stuff? And
I used to play around with it.
Yeah.
That's how I got through some EDRs, is I would build basic listeners in Python. Like I said, basically backdoors that did nothing. They were essentially netcat built in Python.
Huh.
And then I would wrap it in an EXE. I'd use Py2exe, drop it onto a system, and the system just thought it was a standard application and would just let me listen. And it bypassed probably like 10 different EDRs.
Nice.
Some of your most popular ones, because it looked basic. When people think obfuscation, they think encryption, they think doing a ton of different things. Nah, you can use the most basic programs, wrap it in an EXE, drop it onto Windows, and Windows will think it's doing what it's supposed to do. Doesn't care. You can bypass so many just by doing the most basic of things. And so when organizations look at attackers, right, and they're like, oh, it was an APT, and they use advanced technology and da 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 and all these advanced it was an advanced attack. No, it was Joe Blow decided to wrap a Python script as an exe and put it into your services folder and start it.
It wasn't. I don't know if it was SolarWinds or not, but wasn't the password that actually got? They did like the, SolarWinds 123, right?
Something like that. With an exclamation point.
Yeah.
Somebody didn't reset the password. It was a default password for them as a company.
So what they did was sophisticated, but the actual compromise itself. No.
What they did wasn't even sophisticated. All they did was change some code to put a backdoor in. It gave them access to everything. It's not sophisticated. Half of this code is literally. So when you look at something like SolarWinds, if I have access to your code base, right? Because I've now gained access to your entire network based on a default password or whatever. I have access to your code base. And I know your CI/CD pipeline is absolutely trash because I've been there long enough to see how your code base is flowing. I'm going to put in there, hey, when this gets deployed, this particular code, phone home to me. And put up a connection.
Nice.
And it's like, cool, okay. And it all gets signed. It's all official by SolarWinds. Yep. Stamp of approval. Push to code.
Dang.
As soon as that pushes and installs and runs, I'm phoning home. Okay. And now I have a connection to your entire SolarWinds infrastructure. Everything behind that SolarWinds box, I can now access. All the data, all the watching, all the monitoring. I got it all because I'm on your SolarWinds box. So I see I see what you're monitoring, and I can adjust whatever the hell I want.
Nice.
Imagine how long they stayed in networks. That shit was out there for over a year. Over a year before anybody saw it.
That's a long time for some guy that, and most of the sophisticated threat actors, they could stay in a room for hours and hours and hours and just jam on it. That's just being in there for like a year. I mean, that's just insane.
There, so, and again, you can come down and people can say sophisticated or whatever. It's not, half of it isn't sophisticated. You know how easy it would be for me to stand up a C2 server, put it in some Russian instance, because you're not going to use AWS or Azure because you'd have to steal a lot of identities that way so that people can track it back to you and use a bunch of VPNs. So I'm going to use Russia because there's no extradition policy. But go to Russia, stand up a server on one of their cloud infrastructures, and then I'm going to set up a C2 instance there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to send phishing emails. What those phishing emails are going to do is they're going to go back to my C2 server that are running something like, I don't know, a social engineering toolkit. I'm cloning somebody's page. I'm doing something that's going to capture credentials and do everything I need. Once I have that and I can now access your boxes, I'm then going to sit there. I'm going to turn on my own VPN and I'm going to access everything you have. Because now I could just log in from a VPN and good luck finding me. Because my VPN is registered under a different name under a gift card. Because you're going to stand up a gift card, right? I'm going to go to the store. I'm going to buy a Visa gift card that allows me to put it on anything I want. Put in whatever the hell name you want. And you're going to register. And you're going to do that from a library computer, from some other computer. There's so many different ways to hide yourself that are ridiculous. Dude, Taylor, you're not even wrong.
I looked over. I was like, "Oh man."
SolarWinds. So the Swagger UI for Orion SDK. So that's the GitHub. Malware's lame. They're using old Unix bot methods to spread half of them and can't even fast flux, which is hilarious. But dude, my wife. All right, so let's talk about this, and then we're at 10 till, and I want to get more. You know how I operate. We want to help as many people get into this industry as possible. Sure. So we're going to touch on that. Right. But I wake up this morning. Mind you, I slept in a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit. So I get downstairs, and my wife's like, "You're going to be mad." Like, what the hell am I going to be mad about? Like, what did you do that I'm going to be mad? There's not a lot that can make me angry, but there are certain things. Like, for instance, her telling me, "Hey, I keep getting a bunch of spam emails in my inbox on Google for shit that apparently I'm signing up for and I'm not. And it won't stop." Come again for Big Fudge? So I look at it, and no, I kid you not, somebody had set up a bot to the point people love their bots and they love their scripts. Took my wife's email. Somehow they were logged in on their phone. I don't know. I have reset the MFA and the password and kicked everybody out on so many occasions. I'm still trying to figure out how the fuck they're doing this because it doesn't end. At least once a quarter, I've got to clean her shit up because something's going on. So,
dang.
And I've got an MFA on everything, so I don't know how they're getting past, but it is what it is. Be that here nor there. So they get him, and literally one after another, literally minutes apart. We're talking Spanish fucking websites and these websites, everything coming across. She's deleting and unsubscribing and doing all this stuff just through Google, right? She's not like actually opening the email. It's this is spam, unsubscribe. This is spam, unsubscribe. She's doing this. Finally, I go on, and I look at who's logged into her account, and now she has 2 phones, and the one is older. And I'm like, why is there 4 phones logged in? Remove. Removed everybody. Kicked everybody out of that account. Got them relog in. So far, we're in the clear. But this ain't the first time this shit has happened. I'm still trying to figure out how the fuck they keep getting into her account. So Taylor, what is Pret? I got to look that up. They're using Pret to hack IoT devices via port 515 and 9100. That doesn't shock me, but I'll have to look that up. 3cx.com. You can rotodial or text for free. That's what they are doing to do it. Interesting.
Huh.
I used to have, I know they have apps for burner numbers, but that's, printer remote exploitation tool. Why does that not shock me that it's the printer toolkits that are being taken advantage of? Fucking IoT. But yeah, so saying that, Taylor, thanks for being here, by the way, in the chat. Not many people usually comment on Twitter or X. If you want to drop over to YouTube also, I do have super chats and all the ways you can support me there, or check out cyberwarriorstudios.com. But saying that, Terry,
yes, sir.
752, I want to give you the floor, man. I want you to talk. I want you to let people know how to break into this industry from the shit you experienced, because you've experienced the highs, the lows. We've talked about mentorship. We've talked about a lot, but go into some detail, man. Like, how can they get into cybersecurity if they're seriously losing hope at this point?
Okay. But all right. So the one thing I found, man, is don't lose hope. just keep rolling. Make sure that it is what you want to do, because if it's not passion, as I mentioned before, then you're just not going to continue through with it. But I would say if you really wanted to go the easier route, is all about, and it's kind of, people think it's played out, but connections, man. Just talking to people, getting in communities, whether it be Discord, believe it or not, is a pretty good one. Half the stuff on X is really good for resources as far as learning things. I learn a lot on X. I don't really do it for much else other than computer related stuff. But if I had to break everything down, it's community. Even in the trade that I'm in now, I put softeners in for people, and they turned out being either GRC people or they ended up being in tech in some way, and formed relationships there, and a lot of those connections turned out to be what helped me get to where I was. It's like there's no clear path, I think, which is kind of the cool part, because you just you meet so many different people and so many different things, but just always keep learning. Like I said, I don't have that cert for Security Plus, but I would go work 50 hours and then I would be burying myself in the books just so I could understand the basics. Because if you don't understand the basics, whether it be the OSI model or just security in general, different aspects, what a control is, how it works, why you use it, then you won't be able to answer the questions that are on the interviews. And then also look at the scope of what the companies are asking for in the jobs, because a lot of times entry level is not what it is, and you can get really, really like down on yourself because you don't have all these sets of skills. Then these people are looking for like unicorns, hoping to find, somebody that's, been in DFR for like 12 years, but then they also red team for another 5 and whatnot. You'll pick those skills up along the way. But I think the main thing is just to make sure that to find community, because it was within community that I managed to keep myself straight and keep rolling as well. I think it's super important. True.
Those last few words were absolutely right. Community
Yeah.
is what keeps us going. Community is what, as humanity, is going to keep us, lifted up. And again, one of the biggest things we talked about last year was a huge talking point, was finding your tribe, finding where
Mm,
you belong and who's going to support you. But they
yes.
also have to support you in such a way that when you're screwing up, they tell you you're screwing up. When you're not doing the right thing, they tell you that. But when you are doing the right thing and it's just not quite working out yet, they lift you up and tell you you're going to make it. They help you succeed. They give you the tools of the trade. They give you what you need to actually succeed, both mentally and physically. And so these things are all about finding the right community, the right tribe, the right network to be around. Too many times we surround ourselves with toxic people that do
Mm,
nothing but degrade us, do nothing but put us down, and act like they're better than us. And then we get mad because, oh my goodness, these people are so bad. And it's everybody now. Let's generalize it. Now it's all of one specific person because I personally decided to surround myself with that negativity in my life. So now it's everybody is now bad. No, no, no. Step away from the negativity. Find those people that are going to be the right type of positive. The
okay.
people that are
Yeah.
going to tell you when you're wrong and when you're right, and they're going to lift you up when you're down. And they're going to put a boot in your ass when you need it. Because
Always need
those
that.
are the type of people you need in your life. Not the people that are going to put you down constantly because they have a narcissistic um and just that type of personality where they need to feel better than you. I don't need to be better than anybody except for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I compare myself to how I was yesterday. That's
Ha,
all you can do.
that's
If you
fire, dude.
if you compare yourself to anybody else, you're doing it wrong. Because
Mm,
Terry, if you were to sit there and be like, "Oh my goodness, he's been doing this and he's so much better than me." Yeah, I've also been in the career field since I was about 18 years old. Big difference between me and you is I've wanted to do this and been doing it for a lot longer. Don't compare yourself to me. That'd be like me comparing myself to a 17-year-old who grew up coding that can reverse engineer anything and being like, I should be like him. No,
Right.
be like you. Be unique, be an individual, be who you are, and realize we all learn differently, we all grow differently, and we all have our differences because we're meant to be different. If everybody was the same, we'd all be boring and life
Do
would
you
suck.
do you like looking at future you?
No, I look at
No.
now me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like doing things now for future you. What is? I like to look at like that. Like, what are the
So,
habits
so
things
I
you can
have
do?
plans for the
Yeah.
future.
Yeah.
I know what my goals are for the future, but I don't look to the future, if that makes sense. And
No,
that
I got you.
I will not, because then that's setting myself up for failure, right? Because mentally, if I say I'm going to be here right now, I'm going to be a millionaire by the time I'm 40 years old. So in
Hmm.
3 years, dude, if I don't hit that now mentally, I have failed. I've screwed up. I've done something wrong, and I'm going to get down on myself. Whereas if I be more realistic and I say, okay, I've got this goal for this year, this goal for next year, this goal for the year after, and I do things like in better increments. That's why these 5 to 10 year plans don't work out for me. I look at my 1, 3, 6, 12 month plans. What am I going to do in that time frame? I wanted to be at 5,000 subscribers on YouTube by the end of last year. It took me till, I don't know, 5 days ago, 4 days ago to
Hmm.
finally hit it. So like, if I would have, if I would have let that drive me, I would have never got to where I'm at today because I would have been broken for the past 2 months. I didn't reach my goal. Oh my God. But for me, it wasn't that. It was just do what I do. And I don't do tech content anymore, Taylor. That's why I don't.
Love it.
Mine is literally because I don't do tech content. People want to see tech content more than they want to see this.
You don't do the Tuesdays anymore?
I haven't done it in about a year.
Okay.
It's hit or miss for me, man. Like, it's just not something I enjoy as much as I enjoy doing these.
I did enjoy your security onion one though. I was a big fan of that one.
Which one?
That was the security onion.
Dude, everybody loves that one.
Yeah, that was mine.
That one and Linux Basics for Hackers.
That was a good one.
I don't do 0-day hunting.
Yeah.
Look, that I got a too big of a family and too much shit I got to do with on my I ain't got time to take that shit. But no, look, I love everybody. You're all my warriors. You're all my family. Terry, thank you once again for being here. It was good to have you back.
Man,
I love you.
for having me,
everybody in the chat, everybody on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, wherever you're at watching this, thank you for tuning in. Please check out CyberWarriorStudios.com, CyberWarriorSD1. Check out them all because I'm always there, always doing big things. And I promise I'll be back next week with another amazing episode of Security Happy Hour.
Woo!